And we're off. This is another test mission of DroneDeply software. The reason I'm doing it is I tried to zoom in a little bit more where I thought the lost drone probably is. If anybody's followed any of my stuff, you'll know that I lost the drone. Well, on February 12th it was flying over the area I'm approaching, and it just got knocked out of the sky and fell to the ground. I got a GPS position of, where it was known to be last, but there's a high probability that it did land in the creek, which I'm approaching right now. We've had 3 nor'easters in 3 weeks, which is 3 feet of snow. So it's probably melted halfway now, but I'm not going to be able to really seriously search for it till it melts. But I have a pretty good idea where it is, and it's basically behind the first barn, and that's where it would have went into the water. If we get closer, you'll see the barn. And I'm doing something different, really different, is I attached a GoPro to the top of the drone, and I just used the standard snap-in mount. I didn't have a mount for it, and I used electrical tape to stick it on the drone. So this is the view that you're seeing, because with any drone, you can't record audio and video I mean still pictures and video at the same time. So to overcome that, I figured I would stick a GoPro, it's a Session 4, on top, and it kind of gives you a good idea of the forces involved, because there's no gimbal, there's no correction of the vibration and the shaking and what it actually goes through in the wind. It's pretty interesting. I think I left a little bit of audio on there from the GoPro to give you a sense of, you can hear it when it brakes, and when it slows down, it's the motor slow down really fast. It's pretty interesting, I thought. So it's flying its mission. It's probably, right now it's doing that, because anytime you see a black image on the lower right hand corner is my screen grab for my phone. So it's taking a photograph, and it's going to fly the grid. It's not a really big grid. I cut it down a little bit. It's only 2 acres, because I kind of have a better idea where it might be. So I'm just letting it do its thing. See the barn there? It's behind that somewhere. It should be. If it's on the grass, I didn't really look that far up when I first started looking for it, but it was about 20 feet in the air at the last known position, and it was moving east. Right now this is going west, so it's going the opposite direction. And if it's in a tree, that's great. If it's on the grass, that's okay. But I really strongly think it's in the water, and hopefully it got snagged on something underwater, like a branch or a twig, and it didn't go far, because of the current's been pretty strong. It's not a big creek, but it goes all the way down to the Hudson River, which is about 7 miles away from this spot. So I don't know. I mean, when I was flying, I was using the Lecce app and not a DJI Go 4. So that opens a can of worms, because DJI, they want you to synchronize the last flight data with their servers so they can analyze it. But Lecce doesn't do that, so you're screwed unless you find it. And it kind of sucks that that's the way it is. If they license Lecce to use, they allow them to fly. They make money from letting licensing out to Lecce that they can use their software and fly their drones. They should be covering it too, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not a lawyer. I just I think it sucks, but hopefully that'll change. So right now it's running the flight plan. You can see it's navigating. Now it's facing west. And there's the little barn right there. in the lower corner. It's in that general area. The terrain down there is brutal. It doesn't look like it because right now this is flying at 110 feet. You don't get the same perspective with the GoPro as you do when you can use the video camera. So, but the terrain is terrible. It's full of burrs and pricker bushes, and you almost need a machete to get through it. You're walking. It's like you're walking into barbed wire fences. It seems. And it's a small area, but it's like really hard to pass through. It's hard to move around in. The first time I went out was like immediately after the drone went down, and I was out there for about an hour because it was close to sunset, and by the time I walked through, I didn't see it anywhere, and my clothes were, I had a fleece coat on. It was like loaded with burrs and crap, and I still have to clean my coat off. But not a very nice place to be. The mapping software, it's pretty amazing. It does everything as advertised. It looks different from this. You normally wouldn't see this because of the GoPro attached to the drone. So this is just like a different perspective of what it actually does. But it will. I've had several other successful missions where I was able to map out an area and get great insight of what's down on the ground. You can, I used it to measure the size of a trailer park. They needed a map, and they wanted to measure out all the lots, how each house is on a lot, and how much room, how big the lot was, etc. And it's very easy to do. You just draw some grids with the mouse, and you can get an area. There's all kinds of other things you can do, like giving you a roof report and things like that. It's very versatile, very good, very powerful. When I got back to my house, it took about 3 hours after I uploaded it to process it, and they give you a link to go back to download what you need, and you get really good access to what's on the ground. This mission originally was only supposed to take, in the mapping, it said about 9 minutes, but I added, because it had the added weight of the GoPro camera on board, and there was a 10-mile-an-hour wind coming out of the north, which is facing north right there. Took about 3 or 4 minutes longer, but it still returned with a decent amount of battery. I think when the mission was finished, it was only about, I think it was 51%, which was good. And I only was 1,000 feet away. And I did make a mistake because I aborted the return from home. I don't think that, because when I uploaded the images, it said that I was missing 2 photos. So I think what I did was I threw it into sport mode a little too quick because I thought it was on its way back, because I was worried because they had set the return home altitude to something like 120 feet. But the problem is that there's a hill in between where I was, and it's more like 130, 40 feet. So I didn't want to fly into it because I forgot to raise the return to home altitude. I probably should have it set at about 220 for this particular area to get back where I was. because I was in a parking lot at a church, and there's a big hill in between us. You'll see it towards the end. And this is a standard stock Mavic Pro. The red area that you see there, it's actually reflective tape, and there's yellow, well actually it's fluorescent orange and red tape on it, because I've lost 2 drones, and I know that this is gray colored, and if it goes down, which I've had two of them go down so far, very difficult to spot them on the ground. And I kind of get a kick out of these guys that, you know, they do their little drone modifications, and they put, you know, their skins on, and they put camouflage, digital camo skins. And I'm like, what are you thinking? You know, there's a good chance that, you know, that thing's going to crash. Don't say it won't happen. It's happened to me twice. That, you know, if it's on the ground, if it's in the woods, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to find, you know, something wrapped up in camouflage like that. In my case, with the DJI, you know, guys in the forums think that I had the video, but it was, for some reason, the app did not record the video cache from the camera. So I had a GoPro on me, and I was actually filming the screen from the GoPro, but what it did look like was like something hit the drone from behind in the air, right around over here, and it shook, and then it started to spin out of control, and then I lost contact when it was near the ground. But I had the, you know, the last GPS coordinates, but don't know. This is when I threw it into sport mode, when you saw the nose rise. Apparently I needed to take 2 more pictures, but it just didn't matter. It still came out fine. This is the hill I was talking about. I went up in altitude here to get over it, and then I figured, oh, I got like good amount of battery left. Those are the air brakes. When you slow down, you don't notice that when you got it on the gimbal, but you see it here. Then I switch back to the DJI 4 app, and what I wanted to do is take a panel, a 360 panel photo right from there, because it's kind of a cool view. But apparently you can't switch. You have to be in panel mode when you take off. You can't change it in flight. So I'm like, crap. So I'm like, all right, I'll just fly around a little bit and then land. It's not. It's close to being. I'm in. No, you really can't see it. I'm probably about 300 or 400 feet away, facing that direction, which is southwest, kind of. Yeah, I did a voiceover as I was flying, but I forgot to hit a button, record button, and it got boofed. It didn't record any volume, so I figured I'd just do a voiceover to explain what I was doing. I'll put a link in at the end of the video of the map that this thing actually made, or so you can check it out. So now, looking around, that was just a 360 panel view. And I'm down there near that building, the black car. So I'm just skimming over to where I am, and I'm going to come straight down. Yeah, it was freezing out, so I was sitting in the car with the heat on. And that's the map. A couple of pictures of, that's the Google Earth shot. And I'm going to put a link to that, so if you want to check it out, go for it. D-Dub out.